Happy New Year, guys! It's 2023. It is Sunday, the 1st of January, and obviously, weekly vlogs usually start on a Monday. But I thought it would be nice to actually start this year on the 1st of the month. I thought that would be quite cool. It's the 1st of January, the first day of the year, the first vlog of the year, and this is one of the years where I have decided I do want to actually take vlogging a little bit more seriously. I really want to up my videography skills. I really want to try and be more creative with my vlogs, and I'm hoping that if I try to do them weekly again, then maybe it will actually get me a bit more motivated to go out more and do things. And yeah, I am actually feeling really, really, really good about this year. I figure it's because the worst thing that I would have said that could have happened to me last year happened, which was the end of my engagement, the end of my relationship, and that sort of abandonment and loss and the depression and mental health that went with that. So that did actually happen. And I kind of sat there the other day and I realised I'm actually feeling quite content with where I am now. I still have up and down moments with my depression and my mental health. My physical health is still a bit up and down. But during December, while I was working again, it was only 2-3 days a week. But just those 2-3 days a week, apart from the final week where I was really stressed and ended up stressing myself into a really bad migraine over Christmas. Don't do that, guys. Bad idea. But apart from that, I felt so inspired and energized and ready to work. And even though I was poorly through December as well, which you can hear in my voice, I'm still recovering from, I just felt really good about myself. And I've realised I've lost a little bit of weight and most of my clothes are starting to feel a little bit looser and baggier on me, which is kind of tripping with my brain a little bit because now that everything's a little bit baggier, it means that it's losing its shape, which means that I look in the mirror and even though I've lost the weight, because my clothes make me look really big and baggy, I just don't see it. And I'm generally not overly bothered by my weight, but when I know I've lost it and I know that I'm looking better than I have in a while, like with my hair, okay, it needs a new dye job because the roots are really, really coming through. But with the change of hair colour, with the new glasses, which I'm still not convinced on these frames for me, so I might change them up again in a couple of months. But either way, with the hair, with the glasses, the fact that I've managed to grow my nails again and I'm at the point of I can now look at getting them done professionally, and the weight loss and the business has been going well. I've been feeling really motivated with my YouTube. I've hit 550. Now we're in the 560s and that's insane to me. But it's just all of these factors are coming together and I'm realising I'm actually quite content and quite happy with where things are right now. So yeah, I want to keep that energy going and I want to work on myself more. I want to continue with my journaling. I want to continue with my YouTube. And I have so many ideas and so many plans and projects that I'm really looking forward to getting into this year. My only sort of big concern at the moment is still finances because the business and the candles don't bring in enough monthly yet for me to be fully self-sustained on it, which does mean that if I don't want to rely on benefits, I do need to get another part-time job. And I'm still struggling a little bit with the anxiety around that because of my health more than anything. Even with this last job, I ended up needing a week off at one point and I was only working there for 8 weeks. And I hated that my body decided to do that and that is something I cannot control currently. So a big, big, big focus for me this year is getting my health in order so that I can get a more steady job and feel more confident in myself again. I really want to continue working on my sort of personal growth and development and continue to look at therapy options. Hopefully by the end of this year, I would love to be able to move out and get my own place, but I'm not in a rush now. So yeah, I have decided I'm going to decorate my bedroom because at the moment it's all shades of lilac and grey and it was lovely for who I was 7-8 years ago, but my tastes have changed and now I've decided I want to go very autumnal. So I'm going to do some a biscuit / oatmeal coloured wall with and then make all the colour be my bedding, and like I'm going to get some dark forest green curtains to match my new blanket, and then I'm going to get some like autumnal coloured bedding, and that's just going to be what I do, and I'm very excited about that. Yeah, so I'm also going to dye my hair different. I went red this time. Next time I'm going to go more brown and see what that looks like. And yeah, I am just excited about this year. I feel good. It's weird. It's been a while since I felt really good going into a new year. So yeah. Anyway, this is actually supposed to be the start of a reading vlog, and I haven't actually talked about books at all yet. So I have declared my reading goal. I haven't yet done it on Goodreads. I will be doing that very shortly. But I am setting it to 75 books this year. Last night I went through my story graph and I got everything up to date on there because I was so far behind on it. I was like still logging books from October, and I'd read about 20 books since then, so I was like, whoops, caught up with that. That's now up to date and accurate. Finished the last bits on the Beat the Backlist and 52 and 52 challenges that I do. And yeah, I've got that already set up. That's good to go for January. So I just need to do my Goodreads and I'm ready for December. I'm ready for this year. And then last night I did some lives, and if you tuned into those lives and were there, thank you so much for joining. And a special shout out to Hattie, who actually came on the live with me at about 11 o'clock at night, and we were live streaming together and we sort of saw the new year in together, which was really lovely. I finished 2022 on a 5-star read, which was my reread of Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I gave this 4 stars the first time I read it because it is extraordinarily info dumpy, and I did not enjoy the pace of it the first time I read it. I really struggled to remember who was what and what it meant by like a page, a knight, a scion, a squire, all of this. It just really confused me. It still does. I still have no idea what the heck's going on. But because I actually knew more about the plot going into it for the reread, I found that I was following things a lot more easily. The lore made a little bit more sense to me, and I just found that the ending wasn't as confusing for me this time. I think last time I was just so overwhelmed by everything that was going on that we'd had quite a steady, gradual pace until the last like 50 pages, and then everything happens at once. I think last time I just got a bit overwhelmed and I didn't really quite understand what was happening, whereas this time I followed it really well. And I've got to say, I do not like Nick. I am a Cell girl. Absolutely, 1000%. Selwyn Kane is... Yes. I'm still very uncomfortable with the age thing in here. Brianna is 16 at university and has university age guys, 2 of them basically falling for her, and that just makes me uncomfortable. Not gonna lie, I just couldn't really get behind either romance properly unless she was a little bit older. But anyway, this one is a 5-star on the reread, especially the ending. It was so good, and it has made me very, very, very excited and eager to get Bloodmarked, and the hardback has now been released. When it first released, especially here in the UK, there was nowhere, not even Book Depository, I could not get a hardback copy. I have since discovered last night that Book Depository does have the hardback of Bloodmarked, so I will be ordering that for my birthday next week or week after next, and hopefully catch up there. So that was my final book of 2022, and it was really great to end it on a 5-star, considering I nearly started the year on a 2, so good. And then I was originally planning on reading Wistress as my first read of 2023, but during the stream we got talking about retellings, and I started talking about my Alice in Wonderland retelling that I'm writing, and then I started to talk about Peter Pan retellings and said that I've got a few and I've yet to find a really, really, really good one. And so that inspired me to instead pick up the one that I'm most excited for, which is Hooked by A.C. Wise. And I got 30 pages in on the final sprint, so I have technically started my 2023 reads, which is awesome. However, I'm already struggling with the writing style. It's set in a really weird, tense, it's like Wendy lifts her muffler and walks over to the stairs, and I'm like, oh, I don't like that perspective and that way of writing very much. It takes me a little while to get into it. but also it was a slightly confusing start. It almost reads like it's a sequel to something and that we should know stuff that's already happened. Like, that's just how it came across to me. It could be that it was 1 o'clock in the morning by that point and I was starting to get a bit delirious, because the previous sprint I read 100 pages in 45 minutes to try and finish the book. So it could be that I was just a little bit burnt out by that point. But it did definitely feel like this was supposed to be the start of a sequel. And also I struggled a little bit with the writing is very lyrical, and you all know I struggle with that. I prefer my writing to just be a bit more plain, the occasional metaphor and the occasional lyrical bit thrown in, but not the entire prose being just like flowery, flouncy, like way over descriptive and very full of imagery when it doesn't need to be. But it is intriguing me. Wendy is an adult in this, like she's got a fully grown daughter, and Hook managed to escape Neverland and come into our world, so he's now kind of like an aging man. I think he's sort of like, from how they've described him, he seems to be in like his 60s or 70s, because he's described as having like white hair now and he's got wrinkles and he feels old and he needs to use a cane to walk and things. So I feel like he's like meant to be in his 70s, maybe even his 80s. Wendy, I believe, is probably in her late 30s to 40s. And yeah, it's set in 1940 something, 39, I think, 1939. So it's got mentions of the war and stuff. So I am intrigued, but I have gone from having very, very, very high hopes for this to mediocre hopes. I've started a new tradition. The last 2 years in a row, I've started my year by reading a book by an author I've never read before, and I just like to continue that. So I've never read AC Wise, so I may swap to a different book if I don't get on with this by the end of today. And either way, it will be another author that is someone I've never read, just to keep that tradition going. Have my first finished book of the year be a new author. Also, if you keep hearing tapping, it's the tassels on this. I got this beautiful bookmark from Shah for Christmas, and it's like, I read past my bedtime, with the little fox. It's so cute. Let's see if I can get it to... No. But yeah, it's like, I read past my bedtime, and then it's got these little tassels, and it's even got a ruler on the back for some reason. Not really sure why, when you don't really need a ruler for a bookmark, but whatever. But yeah. Let me know in the comments, what have you set your Goodreads goal for this year? I'm really interested to know. And what is the first book that you plan on reading for 2023? I'm going to go, and I will speak to you guys in the next update. I feel like I need the Lion King bit with the "it is time" and then do, 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 do. But either way, are we ready to set my 2023 Goodreads goal? Let's go. I want to read 75. That is the most boring blue on the planet. But we are ready to go. And we already have our first book lined up. Let's do it! Happy Monday. My brain just went completely blank. I forgot how to speak. I've just uploaded my Book of the Year Awards video, and I'm very excited for that one. I love doing that video every year, and yeah, it's really fun. And then I did my Book of the Year showdown with it. I think next year I'm going to do those as 2 separate videos, and I'm going to do my Book of the Year a bit differently, because as much as I enjoy it, it just takes up a lot of time and room, and I actually prefer how Plant-Based Bride does it, where she just kind of fills in her book bracket as she discusses it and then picks. So I might do it that way next year, well, this year technically. And then for reading, I haven't read any more of Hooked, but I do have Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I've got Priory of the Orange Tree that I'm buddy reading with Chloe, and I also started Wistress by Nadine Brandes. So whichever one of those I finish first will be like fitting with my criteria for my first book of the year being a new author. But I started Wistress, and the first chapter was fantastic, and then the second chapter really has me very confused. It's just like, what? is not well explained. It seems to be that I've just picked a load of books that really confusingly introduce things, and I don't see why it needs to be that confusing, unless it's just my brain isn't functioning properly. But with Wistress, I've only got to like chapter 30 pages in, but you got Mirth, who is a young, well, she's a teenager now, but at the start she was a little girl who discovers that she is the Wistress, who is the only being who's naturally born with magic. Everybody else, they have to go to this specific place, and it's like a really dangerous pilgrimage to get there. And if they can get there and drink from the well, they are granted the ability for a talent, which is like a magical gift. And the Wistress is the only being who naturally has this gift, and she has the gift of being able to grant wishes. And basically her wishes are in the form of tears, so every time she drips a tear, it can fulfill a wish. And from her side of things, she's just turned 17. She's been used basically by her grandmother her whole life, and has now gone, well, I'm 17, I can now use my magic how I want, which inevitably is going to go bad for her, because we know from the blurb she gets cursed by her own abilities because she does a wish wrong. But she thinks, typical 17-year-old, she's like, well, I'm now in control of my destiny, I know what I'm doing, when she knows nothing. And it's not entirely her fault, her grandmother hasn't told her anything, so how's she supposed to know what to do? But then we've got a second character whose name completely... Bastian. Yes, Bastian, who is introduced to us, and I have no idea what is even going on with him. I think he's got some sort of magic ability that lets him travel through time, or like in a stasis, so I don't really know. All I know is that it starts off really cloudy, and when he wakes up he says that he's been there for 32 years or something in the stillness, but nothing's really explained yet about what that means and what it is. And then the king's just died, and he's all upset because his magic somehow was linked to the king, but nothing's been properly explained, so I am extraordinarily confused at his things so far. But between that and the Peter Pan one, I'm currently enjoying Wistress more, so that's the one that I'm going to continue with for a bit. I just seem to be very good at the minute picking up books that seem okay on the first page and then very quickly get very confusing. And there seems to be a bit of a trend with authors at the moment not explaining things. Like, I'm not saying I need a full, like with Legendborn, where everything is so thoroughly explained it kind of gets lost to the plot and the characters, and I feel like the plot suffers for it. But it's still, like with Silver in the Mist by Emily Victoria, I still don't really know what the filigree magic system is or how it's even used. I've just kind of accepted that, okay, that's the magic system. With this book, we're kind of thrown in very confusingly. And with Hooked, I think it's more the writing style is what makes everything confusing, because she's trying to be very imaginative and lyrical with it. And it's like, well, it doesn't really come across as the sort of book that needs to be like that. So yeah, I seem to be picking books that are just annoying me a little bit. And obviously I'm very aware that this monster has a ton of world building and stuff in it as well, so I've got that to look forward to. So I'm just going to get on, do some reading, play some video games, and yeah, I'll give you an update when I'm a bit further in. I'm whispering this because my uncle is asleep and I don't want to wake him up. And the walls in this house are so thin. I just read a line in this book and it's got me cracking up, because I know it's a word that in America is very, very different to England. But it just got me. Okay, so the sentence said, "It was no longer translucent and dancing with spunk." Now, if you are an American, that sentence isn't funny at all. It makes perfect sense to you. But if you are English, you may be giggling too right now. because spunk in England is not what it is in America. And it's just a liquid that is spunky. Just no, thank you, no. Just, if you are confused, look it up. Anyway, gotta go. But yeah. Bye. Hello, happy Tuesday, and I'm back to normal volume. Yeah, that was just a slight giggle moment for me last night, and I did go to bed literally as soon as I filmed that because I was like, yeah, I'm delirious now. So today it's currently 3 in the afternoon. I am struggling a little bit today. I had plans to get up to make 40 candles for the big order that needs going out by the end of next week. And well, really by the end of this week it needs to go out. And then I was gonna have a shower, finish working on my bullet journals, do a bit of reading, and yeah. Instead, what has ended up happening is my head went really bad during the night. It actually made me very sick. I woke up this morning as early as I'd planned, but I felt so unwell I ended up going back to sleep and didn't get up till 10. And then since I've been up, I have now been able to do a few things, but if I try to do too much, my head immediately starts hurting, and I have had to take my stronger painkillers to get it to that level where I can now do things, which means candles are a no-go. And I'm starting to get a little bit panicky because I don't want to let down my first professional proper order, discounting the paper orange because that was with a book box. This is working with the publisher directly, and I do not want to let them down because obviously I want this to become a regular thing. I want this to actually end up being something I do more often. And yeah, I did have a bit of a cry about it this morning because I was panicking that I wasn't going to be able to get it done and that I'd left things too late. But then I remembered during December, which is when I was going to get everything done, so all I had to do in January was send them. I started off the month having a really bad period. I then got that cold, nasty flu, cold chest infection, whatever it is that's been going around lately. And that took me out for a week. Then I was working every single day leading up to Christmas in retail, so I was exhausted by the time I got home. Then the actual week of Christmas, not only did I stress myself out to the point of the worst migraine I've had in about 2 years, I ended up really poorly over Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, Boxing Day. And even now on the 3rd of January, I'm still struggling with my head after the post-drome from that migraine has just absolutely made me drunk and feel crap. So I'm I've actually had a really rough month health-wise. So I bit the bullet. Rather than try to sugarcoat things and be like, yeah, I can get it done and force myself when I know it's going to make me worse, I just bit the bullet and I've emailed the publisher, that the lady that I'm talking to, and I just said, look, I am so sorry. Editing Kirsty just popping in to say that I originally went on to sort of explain what I'd said to the publishers and all of this, and I was venting a lot of my fears. I have heard back since, and she was more than happy to push the deadline. She said that there's no rush and they're happy to push it back a few weeks. So I do now have until the end of January to get them done. So I was getting myself into a massive panic for no reason. And it turns out that when you actually admit to people that things aren't okay and you're struggling, they actually want to help you and they want you to slow down and do things without rushing and panicking. Who knew, right? I am feeling the stress a little bit today. The 1st of January was a euphoric day for me, and it started off fantastically. Yesterday I was a little bit sluggish. Today I'm very sluggish and in pain and struggling. But here's hoping that because I've had a bit of a rough day today, I might actually go to sleep a bit earlier, have a better night, and yeah. Anyway, as far as reading has gone, I've got a couple of updates. I'm now on page 90 of Wistress, and I am starting to understand what's going on a little bit better. And we've just reached the point where the 2 characters have kind of been put together. So I think it's going to start getting really good. And And then finally on NetGalley, I requested a book that I thought was going to be really cool, because it's like called Goblin Mode, and it's like all about how to live your life as a goblin and embrace your inner chaos and your inner mess. And I was like, that's so cool. And then the publisher have granted me auto approval on NetGalley. So I've just been going through their catalogue. They've got about 3 books that I'm interested in. All of them are on like non-fiction self-help, and that's a thing that I really want to prioritise this year. So there's one that's all about grief, which I feel like I could have used last year when I was going through the separation. But it might be interesting a year on to see how I'm sitting through all that and where I'm at. So they've got one all about grief, they've got the Goblin one that I've gone for, and there's also one on how to sort of work fitness into your day-to-day life when you really don't want to do it. I feel like that's a very good one for me. Anyway, I am going to continue. I'm currently putting together my bullet journal, because hands up, who's behind already on their bullet journaling? Me. So I'm just finishing setting up, like I did my social media trackers last night, and I'm just finishing. I've done my January, well, I can open it. I've done my January calendar, haven't yet filled anything in on it, and yeah, I'm just gonna continue working on this and get the rest of January set up by the end of today. I hope. It is Wednesday. I keep thinking it's Thursday and it's not. I finally got around to washing my hair, and that's why it looks really super greasy. I promise it's not, it's just wet. And I haven't yet blow dried it. But I am halfway through Hooked now, and it's starting to, pardon the pun, hook me in a little bit. That was really bad, wasn't it? But it is starting to reach that point now where I don't want to put it down. Things have gotten really interesting. We're now starting to get a bit more of Hook's history in Neverland, and this isn't the direction I thought. For some reason I thought this was a Wendy, Hook, like getting together thing, but I'm realising it's not. But it turns out Hook had a lover. Well, it's not said anything about it yet, but I'm going to assume that it was his lover or something back in Neverland. I don't yet know what happened there, but in our world, basically Wendy and Hook have been drawn to each other after a beast has appeared and 2 people have been murdered. One of the people that's been murdered is Wendy's daughter's roommate, and they all start to think that maybe there's a link, because each of the people who've been murdered have been in very close proximity to one of the 3 of them. First of all, it was Jane, who is the daughter, it was her roommate. Then it was just outside of a pub that Hook was in, there was a man that was killed. And then finally, at one point on a train, in the carriage next to the 3 of them, another person was killed. So now all 3 of them have had a murder happen right near them. And yeah, Wendy has invited Hook back with her and Jane for Christmas. And so Hook is now in the family home. Yeah, that's kind of where we got to now at the halfway point, is the 3 of them have gotten together and they're now trying to work out what it is that is happening and what it is that's killing these people and why. And we're getting quite a lot of flashbacks to Neverland, where it's kind of like Peter Pan is a child. However, there's like a really dark thing about him, and it's like whatever he says magically happens. So when Hook became Hook, he was originally James, and when he first appeared on Neverland, Peter was like, oh, you're a pirate, right? Yeah, you've got to be a pirate. You're going to be like, you need a hook for a hand. And as he's saying these things, like, his hand just disappears and becomes a hook and things. And so it's kind of implied that he just has this, like, dark magic about him, and that whatever he says goes. So yeah, it is interesting. The writing is still annoying me a little bit. I've gotten used to the present tense thing now. But yeah, it's become a lot more action driven now rather than sort of almost nostalgia driven. And yeah, I'm starting to quite enjoy it. So let's hope that the final 50% goes as well, and this can be my first read of the year. Finished read. Hi, it is Thursday and I'm about to go downstairs, but I wanted to just quickly update on Wishtress. I am 150-ish pages in now. And yeah, it's starting to get really good. I think this is going to fall into the trap of things get resolved a little bit too easily. It's hard to describe how the writing is with this, but it does feel tiny bit on the sloppy side at times, like it could have maybe just done with a little bit more refining. But I am enjoying it. It's quite a simplistic, basic YA plot. And yeah, things are starting to get good now. Currently sitting on about a 3-star, 3.5. I reckon it'll probably end up on a 4, but I can't see this being a 5-star. But you never know, I still have 2/3 of the book to go. I also washed my hair yesterday, and I only washed it yesterday, and it just looks so horrible. And it feels lank and greasy and gross. So I think I'm going to rewash it before I go downstairs. And then I've got a couple of videos that I need to record today. So yeah, I'm going to go get on with that. Okay, hair is re-washed and I think it looks a lot better this time. However, even though I've used half the amount of conditioner, it's still got a little bit of that horrible sort of greasy film on it that I don't like. So I think that the conditioner I picked up a couple of weeks ago just maybe isn't good for my hair. Anyway, I've just recorded a bunch of videos. Well, I've just recorded my January TBR and my December wrap up. And I have, if you've just heard the microwave beep, I have some leftover stew I made beef stew last night, so I've got my leftovers from that with some mash for my lunch because I haven't yet eaten today and I am a dum-dum. So I'm just going to get on and have something to eat. Catch up on some YouTube videos. I've been going through, I'm about 4 weeks behind, so I'm still watching videos from like mid-December from people, but I am thoroughly enjoying that. And yeah, just gonna do that, chill for a bit, do some editing and try and get my December wrap up uploaded today. Does anyone else really hate when on NetGalley they do books that you can only get like a PDF of and you can't actually download it to Kindle? It's just really annoying because then it means that I have to read it on my laptop. And reading books on my laptop is like my least favourite thing ever. Quirk books that I was talking about the other day, I have now downloaded Goblin Mode and How's Your Grief, I think it's called. What's Your Grief? And yeah, I've got 54 days to read both of them. But yeah, I will show you, and it's just, I just don't like it very much. So this is Goblin Mode, and it's fine. It's just when you zoom out to read the whole page, sometimes it's like this one's quite nice and easy to read, but some of them are not. But I like some of these, and I can tell from what I can see on this, I already love it. And then What's Your Grief? I haven't checked this one out, but yeah, that's not really, that is awful text. Can I zoom in? Will it let me? I don't know. I don't use this very often. Okay, so when you zoom in, it's just about readable. But this is going to annoy me. Anyway, yeah, they've chosen a really awful text for like typeface. That's not a very pleasant text, especially being dyslexic. That's not very pleasant. But oh well, we shall see how I get on. But yeah, it's just so annoying when they do that. Urgh. Hello, it is a day. Friday? Yes, it's Friday. And it's the first time in a long time I've been downstairs at this time in the morning, and I forgot that the sun is right in your face. I'm used to being down here at like 11, 12, not 9, 10. Anyway, I have already been up for nearly 2 hours. Well, actually, no, about an hour. Yeah, nearly 2 hours because my phone rang at 8 minutes past 8, right as I was having a really weird dream. So it kind of knocked me out of the bad dream, which I'm really happy with. I am half distracted because I am just about to watch Clumsy Charlotte over on YouTube. She is going live to do some reading and productivity sprints because, as far as I'm aware, it's a holiday in Sweden. So I'm going to get on those. I'm planning on catching up with my buddy read for Priory of the Orange Tree. I'm about 80 pages behind, so I want to catch up on that. I want to do some bullet journaling, and I want to try and get as much of Hooked done as I can today. I want to get this finished ideally because I want to finish this week, the first week of January, having finished at least one book. So yeah, I'm going to get on, do that, and I'll give you some updates later. I haven't yet done any reading for Charlotte Sprints, but I have added yesterday's vlog clips to the vlog. Ooh, that is the door. That was the the groceries. Yeah, haven't done any reading yet. I also haven't eaten yet, so the sweet potato fries did arrive. So I'm now having sweet potato fries for breakfast. I mean, it's 11:30, so it's pretty much lunch now, so sweet potato fries and mayo for lunch. And then I'm going to carry on with some video editing. Let's go. It's the weekend, and I've decided, because the weather is doing this and is yuck, I thought it'd be nice to just sit up in bed, read for a bit. I have Wistress, I have Hooked, and I think I might start with Hooked. And yeah, I'm just going to sit, read for a bit, do a little bit of journaling. I've got a video that I'm currently exporting ready to upload today, and that's going to be, well, I'll put the link up here because by the time I post this, that'll be posted, and that's my January TBR where I'm rebooting my reading game, my My Hero Academia reading game. So I will post the link to that above. Always get stuff in my eye when I start filming. So yeah, I'm just gonna sit, read, chill, catch up on some YouTube stuff because I'm about a month behind still on everybody's videos, and yeah, have a pretty chill day. I was meant to be talking to my sister today and seeing my nephews. Unfortunately, it's like 40 degrees over in Australia right now, and apparently the boys were just very hot and very exhausted, and I was like, yeah, we'll talk another time. So yeah, right, I'm gonna get on, do some reading. Maybe I'll film it, who knows. I finished Hooked. This was a slog, and not gonna lie, the ending was so confusing that for the last 60 pages, I was skim reading this just to get it over with. And I have no clue what was going on. I've also since had a look at reviews, because one of the things I've promised myself this year is I won't look at anybody else's reviews of a book until I have read it myself and formed my own opinions. Because historically, I have been negatively affected by people's opinions. It's different if I see a video and they talk about it, but I mean on Goodreads. And since I have read it, finished in the last 5 minutes, I had a look, and 2 or 3 reviews already have said that they didn't realise this was a sequel. Because even though it's not marketed as a sequel, and it's not considered a series, the previous book directly links to this, and the events that are mentioned in this happen in the first book. So really, this is a sequel, even though I was told it was a standalone. It's marketed by the publishers as a standalone, but it isn't. And one review that I read even said that they are very glad they read the book that was previously, which is Wendy Darling, because otherwise they would have been extremely confused about what some of the aspects within this, because things weren't explained. And I hated that Peter Pan himself was barely even in this book. I know this is mainly a Hook book, but Peter was not really in it. He was more of a mention than he was an actual character, and I did not enjoy this. And I was hoping that maybe the ending would redeem it, but no. It was just such a disappointment. And 3 out of 4 Peter Pan retellings that I've read now that have not been able to get anything higher than a 3-star. Because I've given this a 2.5 star, and I think that 0.5 is a little bit generous, if I'm honest. I enjoyed it to begin with. It was a bit confusing. I wasn't such a fan of the writing. I kind of liked Hook and Samuel's storyline in this. I thought that was quite lovely. But everything else was just utter shite. And I don't normally say that, and I am so disappointed. And I have one more Peter Pan retelling in my immediate vicinity and on my TBR shelves, and I'm now genuinely, I don't even want to read it. I will, but I think I'm going to leave it a couple of months, because if I try to jump into another one right now, I'm just, yeah. Just so annoyed. Anyway, with Hooked done, I can officially say that the first full week of January is over. I did complete 1 book, which is my goal, is a minimum of 1 book a week. So I've done my book of the week. I can now tick Hooked off my list. I can add it onto my 52 and 52 challenge, although I'll probably do that at the end of the month. And yeah, it's the first week is over. In terms of other reading progress, so 1 book complete. Unfortunately, my first book of 2023 is a 2.5 star. So I seem to have just settled on a pattern. And I don't like this pattern, because that's 2 years in a row where the first book of the year that I have picked up to finish has disappointed me. Because last year it was Chosen Ones, and even though I swapped it out for a graphic novel, that book still ended up as a 2.5 and was the first book I picked up. And this year, Hooked was the first book I picked up. It's the first book I finished, and it's a 2.5. So I'm going to see it as a good thing, because after getting that 2.5, which I thought was an omen of a bad year to come, I then read 89 books and had a really good reading year. So I'm going to take this as a positive sign that it starts bad and it can only go good from here. And yeah. Anyway, week 1 is over. I will be back tomorrow next week with our next vlog. If you have paid attention to this entire thing, thank you. I promise they're not all going to be this long. This is just the first one, and I've been a little bit excited. But if you've watched this entire thing, comment below what your first read of the year has been and what rating you gave it. And if you haven't yet completed one, then what are you currently reading? I hope you're all good. I hope you're staying safe. And until next time, bye.